We just sang about joy, peace, and hope. And while I'm full of hope that we may eventually be able to help create more peace in the near future, we do not have to wait to experience joy for some future time. We can have it this morning, this afternoon, every day, as often as we choose. So what does it take for us to create our own joy and then share it, we hope? Well, I love to go online and search for things. And I found an author, a psychotherapist by the name of Jude Bijou. And she has identified 7 ways that she says we can create more joy in our life. Only 7. I'm sure there's more. I want to share them with you. Number 1, accomplish something. Set out a goal and do it. That'll create some joy in your life. Play. Often. Or well, play. Don't let sadness get in your way. And if it gets in your way, cry a little and move on. Meditate. That's something we all enjoy doing around here. Meditate will, in fact, increase your joy. Love yourself, which means you got to be able to forgive yourself sometimes for those little peccadillos we wind up doing. Get a massage or take a nap. That'll create joy. That'll help you relax enough so that you can experience joy. And then, her final way is to say the word joy over and over again. It might make you laugh. Shall we test it? Join me. Joy, 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 joy. It takes me 7 to start laughing. All right. Welcome. And so it is.
My name is Catherine Ann. My mother's name was Anna Catherine. Her mother's name was Catherine Ann. And on back into the mists of time. I don't actually know how far back it goes, but it sounds good. When I first started thinking about this message, I thought it would be about names and their importance. Instead, I think it's more about roots and family. I think roots are important, but I don't think they are overwhelmingly important. Perhaps because I think the roots you find in your family of choice are just as important as those you find in your family of birth. I will always feel my blood stir at the sound of bagpipes on the wind. I'm very Scottish on both sides of my family. I will always stand up a little straighter and my chest will puff up a little bigger with pride at the thought of my favorite ancestor, Flora MacDonald. For those of you not steeped in Scottish history, Flora MacDonald saved the life of Bonnie Prince Charlie after he led the Highland clans to a disastrous defeat by the English at the Battle of Culloden. She dressed him up as her maid and rode him across to the Isle of Skye, thus ensuring that there would always be strife and suspicion between the Scots and the English. The roots of my family of choice are much more diverse. They come from all over the world. My family of choice comes from many different cultures, from many different regions or religions, and from many different ethnicities. I get to sample them all, whether it's the solemn tradition of a Jewish Seder or the infectious exuberance of an African Baptist Sunday service. I can experience all of it. I can learn from all of it. I have heard it said, and I repeat it whenever appropriate, that there are many paths, but they all lead to the same place. My path to glory, enlightenment, God, is so much richer because of all the roots of all my family. I am grateful to have all of you as part of my family.
Thank you, Catherine. As a member of your family, we appreciate you too. Announcements. First announcement, most important, next Sunday, at 2 a.m., I guess it is, next Sunday, we spring forward. It's changed back to daylight savings time. Don't forget, you don't want to miss church next Sunday, or if you do, you'll have an excuse. Spiritual book study group, this tells me the 16th, is that going to be? 16th and the 30th this month is the scheduled time, and that takes place in the hall. Is that correct? At 10 a.m. So spiritual group book, 10 a.m., 16th and the 30th. Monday Healing Circle is only going to be going for 3 Mondays this month. Apparently we're going to take off the day of the 20th. Is that correct?
Correct.
So 6th, 13th, and 27th, we'll have the Healing Circle. Is that right here? Right here in the sanctuary. 7 p.m. All right. March 12th, I believe we're going to have a Board of Directors meeting, and you're welcome to attend if you wish at 10 a.m. in the hall. March 25th is the next community cabaret at the Oaks, and there's a brand new, there's a band going to play that I'd not heard of before, Los Guachis, which is a Petaluma-based band that plays instrumental music of the Southwest, early California, Mexico, and other places, their website says, and I think they took a lot of their music from the indigenous peoples way back when, who no longer are around. So that sounds like it could be an entertaining evening. All right, what else? The next day, March 26th, is the potluck, Sunday after church in the hall. Is there anything that I've missed in the way of announcements?
The board meeting's at 10?
10? No, I said 10, didn't I? Thank you. It's at 9 a.m. The board meeting is always at 9 a.m. so that there's a rest between the end of the board meeting and start of church. Okay, where are we now? Mini message announcements. Oh, we're going to sing a song. That's one I don't believe we've ever sung before. It's in the songbook, number 16. It's called I Am, and I love the words. And then there's 2 verses. So let's all, why don't we just stand and sing I Am.
I'm going to play through.
Oh, that's right. Listen to it and watch the words as he plays it through. Let's all sing the first verse. I am the sky, I am the swallow, I fly, I am the shadow, I'm earth's land, I am the river, I am my home. We're bound together, this world and me. I Time to stand up and greet everybody. In the tried and true Church of the Oaks way, if you're new here, you can greet from afar or greet up close, whatever fits your needs.
Flexible. I told Patrick just probably 1 a month is good for me.
For now, okay. Are you still at the center ever playing?
Every now and then Chris asks me.
Yeah, but no choir. Okay.
Sad.
Yeah, she's your favorite part.
Now the time we talk a little bit about abundance, and I'm particularly appreciative this morning of the abundance of talent and effort we have right from this small community called Church of the Oaks. We not only have somebody willing to step in when Patrick needs a day off, but we have an exceptional pianist in Michael O'Brien, and we have another pianist when he's not available. I do that a little, but we have a third one. Thank you. We have a third one. We did have Deborah Knapp, but she's got some serious illness going on, and we're all sending her our love and healing energies and knowing that she will work her way through this. But in the meantime, she had to step back from piano playing, and she does an awful lot of piano playing. So there's a fellow by the name of Stephen Anderson, an acquaintance of yours. Is that right, Michael?
Yes, right here.
Stephen? All right. Welcome. You're going to be playing for us on the 19th.
The 19th, yes.
Outstanding. Perfect. And that's and probably about once a month, maybe?
That's what we're starting with.
All right. Very good. Glad to see you. All right. Let's see. What else? Oh, we're not going to pass the basket. We just don't do that anymore here at Church of the Oaks, but that doesn't mean we don't appreciate all your tithes and donations. But we do have a basket in the back. If you're fairly new here and you want to put some contribution in there, donation or what all, please do so on your way out. But we know that there is always enough. And our current bank account is still doing okay in spite of the smaller group of people that show up who are still doing okay, folks. All right, then let us, in preparation for the practice that Natalie Dole is going to lead for us, let us sing the song, Wings of Song, number 66, I Clothe Myself safely round.
Good morning, everyone. Today's practice is brought to you by the rainiest spring we've had in quite some time, and therefore also, as you've probably noticed, the rainbowiest spring that we've had in a long time. I don't know about you, but I've seen more rainbows probably in the last week or two than I have in 5 years combined before that, including yesterday we saw like the biggest one ever. So. And it's gorgeous because in energy healing, there's an understanding that colors have healing properties, and the rainbow in particular is what I would call a healing code. It's an image that carries the ability to give us what we need on an energetic level. So for today's practice, I'm just going to invite us all to start off as we normally do with a couple of deep breaths. Just really in gratitude for all the rain that we've received into the land that so needed it here. And after those grounding deep breaths, you're going to imagine there's a rainbow coming from the golden sky above you. And as all rainbows do, it will touch the earth, or appear to, and where it touches will be a pot of gold. But in this case, the pot of gold is you. For who you are, your spirit, your mind, your body, is indeed worth more than gold to the divine. And this rainbow is going to come and connect down from above your head through your whole energy field, including your body, and all the layers, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. And this beautiful rainbow carries such nourishment, such rejuvenation, and a harmonizing ability, so that as it flows through you, you're given the opportunity to receive exactly what it is that you need in this moment. Just take another few moments as you breathe deeply in and out to watch these colors play, to notice what insights or aha moments they bring to you. The divine intelligence that this rainbow light carries also lives in you. This is simply an opportunity to remember that. And again, thanking that rainbow healing code and thanking your own self for receiving here what is available to you today. let it begin to slowly taper off. We are grateful, and so it is. Namaste.
I don't know, Michael, you almost put me to sleep just when I need to wake up. As our minister, Patrick Michael McCarthy, occasionally warns us when he's about to start a very important topic, what some of you are about to hear today may make you a little bit uncomfortable. And if so, that means, there may be something in there for you to really ponder. And if you're not uncomfortable by some of the things you hear, maybe that just means, hey, you're on the same train as Wayne, and ho-hum, he's just telling us what we already know. When I met and fell in love with that beautiful lady in the back left, Nancy Ann Williams, in San Jose, California, in 1959, we got married in 1960, I had no idea that I would eventually thank the Catholic Church, not only for her upbringing, but for so many of my life's blessings. And I was a dyed-in-the-wool Methodist, and my father despised Catholicism. I think I've told you that story before. The first priest whose words were instrumental in my life was Father John Duryea. I hope you remember Father Duryea. He married us. He asked me if I would take this wonderful woman to be my lawfully wedded wife, to hold, honor, and cherish her, both now and throughout life until death do us part. Well, I agreed to do that. We were in public after all. And I said yes, and I have held, honored, and cherished her for all these decades. We're in our 7th decade at the moment. And then, she calls herself Saint Nancy. I don't know why. Of course, when the Father Duryea asked Nancy Ann if she would also hold and honor me and obey me as her husband, well, she immediately agreed to do so. She has done a fine job of the holding and the honoring, and not such a good job with the obedience part of it. Who can blame her? Those were the way the vows used to go in the good old days, which weren't always so good. So not long after he married us, Father Duryea left the priesthood, left the church, got married, and had, I think, a normal life. So one priest down. The second priest, whose words had an amazing influence on both of our lives, was a man by the name of Father James Kavanaugh. Have any of you heard of him before? He was a very important person back in the 1960s, the late 60s and early 70s. He wrote a book titled A Modern Priest Looks at His Outdated Church. It was published in 1967, and he wasn't very popular in the Catholic Church circles anymore because he called for church reforms on birth control, divorce, premarital sex, and celibacy for priests. Now that was really unorthodox way back then. It quickly became a national bestseller in America. There was a person who bought one of the first editions and read it and read it and reread it and reread it. In that book, or I'm not sure if it was in the book or elsewhere, but Father Kavanaugh said, I am one of the searchers. I didn't expect that from a priest, to be honest with you. There are, I believe, he said, millions of us. We are not unhappy, but neither are we content. We continue to explore life, hoping to uncover its ultimate secret. And to quote his brother, he said, For both the clergy and the laity, Jim, Father Kavanaugh, was a spiritual permission giver to question authority and to trust their own instincts and beliefs. I wonder if Patrick Michael McCarty is the reincarnation, or maybe Wayne Thush is the reincarnation of that particular priest. Anyway, he too left the priesthood shortly thereafter, got married several months later, and within a year of that, Nancy had removed our children from Catholic Church and herself, and thus began our decades-long pursuit of a spiritual path that made sense to us, and maybe not to other people, but to us. And now I've found yet another Catholic priest. He's also a former Catholic priest. That's 3 for 3. He helped us on our journey that we started way back there in the 60s. And he wrote a book. His name is Tom Stella, Father Tom Stella. His book, written in 2013, is called Finding God Beyond Religion. I happen to have it with me. I'm still reading it. I haven't finished it. I probably won't finish it forever. It's got a lot of stuff in there. And the subtitle is A Guide for Skeptics, Agnostics, and Unorthodox Believers Inside and Outside the Church. A couple of those words seems to describe some of us, I think. Skeptics, agnostics, unorthodox believers. Well, according to Orthodox religion, we're unorthodox, I suppose. I did not go searching for this book. I happened to find it when I searched for another book about, you may remember 2 weeks ago I gave you a mini message on what is the opposite of faith. And we came up with an article that said the opposite of faith is not doubt, it is certitude. And we talked a little bit about the dangers of being certain about things. So Tom Stella, Father Stella, shows what can happen when we move from certitude to doubt and from stability to searching. There's hope for us. He goes on to say that when life experiences seem to tell us that the right answers no longer seem quite so right, such time is an enriching time, a time when life is no longer a matter of going from question to answer, but perhaps from question to question. He concludes that life in all its messiness is a sacred affair. Sacred affair. If you remember last week, our minister, Mr. McCarty, gave us a quote from Albert Einstein that connects us to that message and connected it to his message, which was, is nothing sacred anymore, as you may recall. He quoted Albert Einstein in the Order of Service thusly: "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant." That's really vital. When you think about it, we're always hung up on being reasonable, being rational. Well, that, according to Einstein, who's a pretty smart man, is the servant of being intuitive. And Einstein concluded by saying, "We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." Pretty smart fella. Here are a few nuggets from Tom Stella's introduction to this book, Finding God Beyond Religion. It puts a bit more meat on those bones that Einstein gave us in that quotation. In it, he talks about the Muslim mystic poet, Rumi, invited us all to leave behind the narrow notion of religion, the moral teachings, and enter the field where spiritual seekers gather, perhaps like in this little field here. Many of us are uninspired by traditional worship and teachings that faith is more about mastery of given ideas than mystery and wonder of the unseen and the unknown. Sounds like he's quoting Patrick McCarty again, the unseen and the unknown. In this embracing of uncertainty, we seem to be ready to doubt, question, and believe differently than we were taught by our former churches and formal religion. We seem to have chosen a path that Stella calls one of 3-pronged forks in the road of discovery. three forks in this road that we're traveling on that we can choose which one to take. I'm not going to take the first one. It says to accept the conventional beliefs and practices as is, as given to us, as we accepted without really understanding. We just accepted. Second fork, reject God and turn away from religion or spiritual growth completely. Not very attractive to me. Third one seems to be the one we're mostly on. Embrace the uncertainty and find a more vital and enduring understanding of God. Let's continue down that path for the moment. In other words, our spiritual well-being is less about rules and more about relationship with the divine, which is incarnate in nature and in human nature. And we recognize that in each other when we give the Namaste greeting. The divine within me recognizes and acknowledges the divine within you. I've already read a couple of the chapters in this book, and I'm doing my best to understand and digest the revelations that appear in each chapter, though a lot of them are not really revelations to me. It almost seems like this author has put into the written page the words that have been flowing through my mind, and sometimes out of my mouth, and sometimes from Patrick's mouth into my mind. In other words, they're not really revelations, they're just exposing what apparently I already know somehow, even if I don't know that I know that I know. So 9 chapters, I've read a couple, and as I go through the rest of the book and study it more intensely, if invited to, I will give you nuggets from each of those chapters in future mini messages or main messages if Patrick decides to invite me back after today. But in the meantime, I wanted to give you a few highlights. I'll give you the titles of each of these 9 chapters, and you'll see how some of them, well, no biggie. Others, oh, that's where maybe some uncomfortableness will occur. We'll see. Chapter 1, God beyond religion. That's okay. Perhaps God is not that old guy with a long beard somewhere else out there, but maybe God is really a spiritual essence within everybody and everybody. Chapter 2 is entitled, What Becomes a Prayer If There Is No God? Well, prayer. Well, right now, prayer sometimes seems to be it's one-way communication sent 2 ways. I communicate with what I consider God, and I hope to have God communicate to me what he thinks I need, he or she or it. Well, that's not real communication. That's just, I ask, hopefully you answer, who knows. But here's what he suggests, that prayer may become a matter of communion between our souls and the soul of God, the essence of God. Not just talking to or being talked to, but communion, one with another. I like the sound of that one. Chapter 3, From Belief to Faith. In the past, we have talked about how sometimes our faith on certain issues gets in the way and gets between you and somebody else who has an opposite faith. So, belief can harbor biases and can just be somebody else's way that you've heard and accepted. Faith means we are willing to let go. Let God. Let it be. Oh, that's a Beatles song. I love that song. Let it be. Here comes chapter number 4 is a biggie. The title is Jesus, the Way or In the Way. That's, yeah. See, you're on my boat. That's the trouble. Jesus is a very important personage to me and has been all my life. And I found this to be, wow. When we put Jesus on a single pedestal for worship only, is that really doing a disservice to Jesus as well as ourselves? Does that get in the way of our recognizing the humanity in Jesus and the divinity in ourselves? There's an awful lot more in that chapter I haven't read yet. Chapter 5, why didn't someone tell me I'm a mystic? I love that title. Well, I think I'm a mystic, although I don't know. I'll look it up. So you know me, I like to look things up. I got 2 definitions of mystic for you. A person who seeks by contemplation and self-surrender to obtain unity with the deity, or who believes in the spiritual apprehension of truths that are beyond the intellect. I kind of like that one. That one feels good to me. Second definition of mystic, a person who has direct experience of the sacred, unmediated by conventional religious rituals or intermediaries. I am a mystic, I think. I like that idea. Chapter 6, inspiration is not dictation. Here's another spot where some members of my family are probably not going to be wondering why I wanted to say this, or they will be wondering why. Can we replace the literal interpretations of biblical passage with the metaphorical meaning that perhaps was most likely intended? Metaphorical. All right, I had to look that one up too. Metaphorical stands for or symbolizes something else. So for those who take the Word of God or the Bible literally as the literal Word of God, they won't like to hear that. And I'm not saying you have to believe as what this author is saying. He's questioning. He's asking us the question. Can we replace the literal interpretations with a metaphorical meaning? Chapter 7, morality as right relationship. Religious rules of behavior tend to overemphasize sin and motivate us to fear hell and hope for heaven. Doesn't sound like a real nice way to live. Instead, perhaps the author is suggesting we can embrace God as the benevolent spirit that both he and I seem to believe is the truth about the essence of God. Oh, chapter 8. What problem of evil? Question mark. Maybe there's no need for us to blame God for allowing evil. How can God let that happen? Perhaps God didn't have a hand in it. In fact, I'd be willing to bet God didn't. No need to blame God for allowing evil. We can acknowledge the possibility that God is in everything and everybody, even that which we have believed to be evil. That's a toughie. Something to ponder. I'm going to research that more. Chapter 9, this final chapter, is church with a mission or a mission with a church. His concept is that the church, especially his old church, put the institutional demands ahead of the benefit to the parishioners, ahead of the spiritual growth, ahead of their seeing the light and acknowledging the light and benefiting from the light. So, I'm beginning to wonder now if there are any more priests out there ready to inspire me further. I know he's going to continue as I read further in this book, but I'm not sure if there are any more out there who have to leave the church in order to inspire me again. But one thing I'd like to ask of you is, before I finish this whole process, please refrain from calling me Father Wayne. I am so looking forward to finishing this book so that I can pass on to you so many things that deserve, I think, to be pondered. So let's cement that thought by singing the first 2 verses of our final song, which is, which is what? I have it here. It is called Pass It On, number 30 in the songbook, verses 1 and 2 only. Pass it on. Stand up.
Play it all the way through.
A little faster. To get fire. going, and soon all goes around will warm up and it's glowing. That's how it is, that's how wondrous time is through when all the trees are burning. The birds begin to sing, the flowers start to blooming. That's how it is, that's how once you experience one of the same things like pass it on.
Perhaps in the future we could practice here at
Wait
the
a minute, let's practice it now.
Thank you.
Yes, we're not quite ready to finish it. That's no way to finish it. Purvis,
No.
we're gonna do this again.
So can you play it so we can hear it? Because
Okay.
we haven't heard
Play
it
the,
before.
play the music.
Okay.
Shall we try it now?
Let's try it.
It only takes a spark to get a fire going. And soon all those around can warm up and it's glowing. That's how it is, that's how once you experience it, spread it from everyone. Yes, and
Missing measure there.
wondrous time in spring, when all the trees are budding. The birds begin to sing, the flowers start their blooming. That's how it is, that's how once you experience it, you want to sing. It's just like spring, one to pass it on. Well,
We'll work out the bumps.
well,
Let's go.
hello.